Recently, 7 artisans asked me if I'd be interested in testing out some of their filters. One of them that they sent over was this VND, or Variable ND filter. It comes in this rigid cardboard box, which is nice and strong. The filter inside is in pretty standard ordinary plastic case. I actually like that they don't overcomplicate things with overly fancy packaging. The ND itself is made from aluminium and uses Japanese Nito polarized lenses. I have no idea what Nito polarized lenses are, but a quick Google search revealed, well, it didn't reveal anything. I still have no idea what Japanese Nito polarized lenses are. If you do, then sure let me know down in the comments. It also has an anti-stain coating, waterproof coating, anti-oil coating, anti-fingerprint coating, anti-scratch high hardness coating. In other words, it has lots of coatings. So my guess is that most people watching this video have some understanding about what a variable ND filter is, but if you don't, then let me just quickly explain. A variable ND filter is an ND filter that you can change the strength of. Now that might lead you to ask, okay then, well what's an ND filter? Well, ND stands for neutral density, and what's the best way of explaining it?
Sunglasses for your camera.
Essentially, sunglasses for your lens.
You're just putting sunglasses on the front of your lens.
Sunglasses for your camera.
Basically, it's a dark piece of glass that you put over the end of your lens that stops too much light getting in there and hitting the sensor. We use this to control the exposure and do creative things like shoot wide open and get a nice shallow depth of field without overexposing the image. You do this on a variable ND by twisting the end of the filter, and you twist until you get the perfect exposure. It's that simple. So what's so special about this filter? Well, ND filters come in different strengths, as you can probably imagine, and that's measured in stops. So a 1-stop ND filter reduces the amount of light hitting your sensor by half, and then every additional stop reduces the light by half again. Most variable ND filters come in strengths sort of between 2 to 5 stops and then 6 to 9 stops. This means that if you want to go from 5 stops of ND to 6 stops of ND, you're going to have to change your filter. This 7 Artisans filter runs from 1.5 stops of ND all the way up to 8 stops of ND. So with the one filter, you're almost getting the entire range of ND. This obviously has 2 advantages. Number 1, you only have to buy 1 filter. That saves you money, which is, in my understanding of things, a good thing. And number 2, it stops one of the most annoying things that you have to do in filmmaking, as far as I'm concerned, which is unscrew filters and screw them back on all the time. But is this just too good to be true? Why don't other companies make them in this sort of range? One of the things about getting sent stuff to test by companies is that you actually need time to test it. You can't just jump in there and straight away make a video about it. This means that when I'm making one video for one thing, at the same time, I could be testing a product for another video in the future. So when I got this filter, straight away I started using it, and I used it to shoot the intro to my last video. It all looked pretty good to me from what I could see on the back of the camera, no problems, but when I got to editing, it was a different story. The first thing that I noticed was this horrible vignette around the edge of the image. And I mean, it was bad. You could actually see the end of the filter or the edge of the filter. I was thinking, no way can it be that bad. No way would a company make a filter like this where you can actually see the filter in the picture. But I didn't have time to look into it any more than that. I just cropped in on the image to get that video finished and carried on with the rest of the edit. I was thinking, oh great, I'm going to have to make a video where I slate this product. And although I'm not being paid for this review in any way, and I'm totally free to say what I want, it's not a great feeling to think, yeah, I'm going to just turn around and have to say, yeah, your product's garbage, mate. I was just about to start shooting this video when it occurred to me that everything I filmed in the other video, I'd used my 4K for with a Metabone speed booster. Could it be the speed booster that was causing the problem? So despite not being a scientist, I did some tests. So I'll just cut right to the chase. It is the speed booster causing these problems. None of my lenses vignette on the 6K Pro, and that includes the Tokina 11 to 16mm at 11mm. But all of my zoom lenses vignette when used on their widest setting when using the Blackmagic 4K with a speed booster. What's strange is the Tokina stops vignetting when zoomed into 16mm, but the Tamron will vignette at its widest setting of 17mm, even though that's less wide than the Takina's 16mm. It's as if the wideness of the lens is irrelevant. The speed booster is making everything vignette when it's at its widest setting, regardless of actually how wide that setting is. All of this technical stuff is kind of irrelevant really, why it's happening, what could be causing it, because at the end of the day, it is happening, and that means that it's a problem. Quite impressively, there doesn't seem to be a massive amount of colour shift at all. This is footage straight from the Canon EOS R. The light was set to 5600 Kelvin and the camera was set to the same, and to my eye at least, it looks quite good. However, when I did white balance in DaVinci Resolve, there was a shift to a cooler tone, suggesting that the ND filter introduces some warmth into the image, and not quite true to what the box says for this filter, where it claims there's no colour shift. Most, if not all, variable ND filters can be affected by a problem where if you're using them at higher strengths, you get a kind of X shape. And as you can see from my test, this is something that also happens with this lens. Although it's not the standard X that you seem to see on it, more that you get a darkening in the one top corner and one bottom corner, and you get a kind of brighter bar or band across the middle of the image. Obviously nobody wants this, you're not going to shoot like this, so it's something to be careful about and to look out for. 7 Artisans are quite open about this, and they state on their website that if you shoot at the 2 highest stops with this filter and you use a wide angle lens, that potentially you could have this problem with the X appearing on the image. There's 2 ways of looking at this, I think. One is that you could probably say, well, maybe they should stop this happening altogether by having a hard stop earlier on, around about say 5 to 6 stops. That way this problem wouldn't happen and no one would know about it and be able to complain about it, and you wouldn't accidentally go a little bit too far and introduce this into your image. On the other hand, you could look at it and say it's cool that they give you the option for you to decide how much is too much, and you can potentially go stronger if you need to, particularly if you're using a telephoto or a long lens where this effect is not going to be as visible. I'll leave it up to you to decide which is the right solution there. You know, I really wanted to like this filter because it's got many good points. I like that it's got this all metal construction, apart from the glass obviously. I like that it's got this kind of textured edge to it. It makes it nice and grippy when you hold onto it. I like how smooth it is when you rotate it. If you've ever used a cheaper one, they can be quite gritty and stiff and janky. This doesn't have this at all. It's really nice and smooth to turn. It kind of feels like it's dampened slightly, but I'm not sure if that's true. Probably not. But, you know, it feels quality when you use it. I even like the little handle on the side that you can screw in and out, even if it makes you look like a kind of posh English lady drinking a cup of tea with your pinky finger sticking out there. I mean, in hindsight, who doesn't really want to look like a posh lady, posh English lady drinking a cup of tea? It's something we all aspire to. I like the fact that it's got hard stops when you get to either end of it. The cheaper ones, if you've ever used them, they'll just keep spinning forever until they unscrew themselves. I like that it's got the numbers of the stops marked on the side. Again, some of the cheaper ones, they don't line up properly, but these ones do. Even the colour cast isn't too much of a problem to me. I think you can deal with it, you can grade around it, you can sort it out. So for me, all of that is fine and made me want to really like this filter. And it is quite a good filter. But for me personally, the camera I'm most likely to use this on is the Blackmagic 4K Pocket using a Metabone speed booster. And the vignette that this gives off is just way too much for me. However, if you've got a 6K and you're looking for a variable ND to add to your kit, then as you can see from the tests, there's no problem at vignetting. And at this price point, this is a really good filter that I think would pair well with it. Is it the best filter in the world? No, of course not. It's priced at $120 for the biggest version of it, the 82mm. So you're not going to be getting something that's Hollywood standard, but for that price, I think you're getting a very good variable ND. I quite like the idea of having an everyday carry video camera, something like the Sony a7 IV, that will give me good pictures wherever I go, because despite what the Pocket 4K name might suggest, it's not very pocket at all. And I'd be more than happy to use this filter with, say, a 35mm lens with that camera. In conclusion, I'd say that this is a good solid VND for most people's situation. If you've got a reasonable budget but you don't want to break the bank, go for something like this. But for me personally, it just hasn't worked out. And that's no fault of this filter's whatsoever. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting this far in the video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you around. Love you all.